Welcome back to everyone who's watching Mama Gagasauti. You're going to be with me, Princess Magician. Let's start with the news headlines. Director General of the Green Growth Institute, Director General Sang Hui Kim, joins Rwanda's for the 20th anniversary of Kwita Izina. Rwanda's trade deficit narrows in July. On the international scene, Israel strikes Gaza, high-rise building, Hamas releases another hostage video. Let's take a short break to be back into the news details. Welcome back into the news details on this start to news in Rwanda, where Sang Kim, Director General of the Green Growth Institute, participated in Rwanda's 20th Kwita Izina ceremony on September 5th, 2025, where 40 baby mountain gorillas were named. This event, held near Volcanoes National Park, celebrates Rwanda's conservation and ecotourism. First marks Kim's first mission to Africa since taking office in July. He praised Kwita Izina as a symbol of community-led conservation and praised the GD's continued support for Rwanda's green growth. Launched in 2006, the ceremony has named 397 gorillas and attracted global figures like King Charles III, Sir David Attenborough. This year's theme, a legacy of community-centered conservation, securing sustainable future for all, emphasizes the role of the communities and ranges in biodiversity protection. Kim will also attend the high-level conservation gala in Kigali, supporting the expansion of Volcanoes National Park by 3,740 hectares. His visit includes meeting to deepen partnership and boost Rwanda's climate resilience and sustainable development. Turning to our next story, airports contributed significantly to Rwanda's tourism revenues, generating over 180 billion in 2023 to 2024 fiscal year. The figures were released by the International Air Transport Association during the 9th edition of Aviation Africa Summit and expedition that opened in Kigali 4th September 2024. The meeting has brought together more than 600 aviation stakeholders to discuss strategies for advancing the industry. The AAT report the value of the air transport to Rwanda, which covered the year of 2023, highlighted the value of the air transport to Rwanda, showing that the sector directly supports over 29,000 jobs nationwide. Every year, international visitors are estimated to contribute nearly $688 million to Rwanda's economy through purchases of goods and services from local businesses. Since 2019, Rwanda international air connectivity has grown by 23% within Africa and 326% with the rest of the world. Looking ahead, Rwanda Air is projected to carry 1.2 million passengers by 2026, up to 1 million in 2023. By 2028-2029, passengers are expected to reach 2.1 million, supported by the fleet expansion to 21 aircrafts. Now let's turn our focus to this story, where Rwanda trade deficit decreased by 17.11% in July 2025 compared to July 2024, according to the latest figures from the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda. The deficit also contracted 16.0% compared to the previous month, June 2025. However, Rwanda's exports declined by 2.95% in July 2025 compared to the June and 55.11% year-on-year. The United Arab Emirates remained the leading export destination, accounting to 38.69 million and 35.3% of the total exports. The AU counted of 35.73% million and 8.65% of Rwanda's imports in July, while the imports from the Indian were worth of $25.29 million, representing 6.12% of the total. Let's take a short break to be back into the international news.
Welcome to Albert.
Welcome back onto the international news, and up next to our next story, aid workers on donkeys have delivered the first humanitarian supplies to survivors of the landslide that reported killed hundreds of the people in a remote mountain village in Sudan's West Darfur region. In another parts of the world, the Israeli military announced it struck high-rise building in the Gaza city on the Friday that said was being used by Hamas as the army gears up to conquer the urban center. Kamikaze Rizne proceeds.
On the international news, aid workers in Sudan have resorted to using donkeys to deliver emergency supplies to survivors of a deadly landslide in Tarasin village, western Darfur. The disaster, triggered by heavy rains and flash floods, destroyed the remote mountain community on Sunday. Local readers estimate that hundreds were killed, with bodies still buried under rubble or swept away by flood waters. While Sudan's health ministry confirmed only 2 deaths, community readers reported recovering and burying at least 370 to 375 bodies. Reaching the site is extremely difficult due to steep Mediterranean, forcing Save the Children team to spend over a day riding donkeys to deliver food, water, medical supplies, and tarpaulins. The UN said the scale of the tragedy remains unclear but acknowledged up to 1,000 people may be affected. Aid agencies warn of worsening humanitarian needs in Sudan, where conflicts, floods, and diseases outbreak already threaten millions. Turning to the next story, at least 19 people were killed this Friday in Israeli air and ground strikes targeting Gaza City and its outskirts, Gaza's civil defense reported. The attacks hit residential buildings and tents, threatening displaced families, amid warnings from the UN that more than 1 million people in the area face famine. Israel has intensified bombardment ahead of a planned full-scale offensive to seize Gaza's largest city. Military officials said Israeli troops already control 40% of the city and expect the operation to displace about 1 million people southward. Meanwhile, Hamas released a video allegedly showing 2 hostages alive in Gaza City. One of them, identified by Israel media as Guy Gilboa Dalal, abducted during the October 7, 2023 attack, urged Israel not to launch the offensive. AFP continued pressing Israel for negotiations, but Prime Minister Netanyahu insists the war will end only on Israel's terms. Concluding, President Donald Trump plans to unilaterally reinterpret the long-standing 1987 missile technology control regime to enable U.S. arms manufacturers to export heavy armed drones such as the MQ-9 Reaper by categorizing them as aircraft rather than missile systems. This change would ease previously stringent MTCR restriction and allow sale over 100 MQ-9 drones to Saudi Arabia, potentially as part of a broader $142 billion arms deal, while also opening possibilities for Pacific and European areas. U.S. drone makers including General Atomics, Kratos, and Anduril would be able to sell through the Foreign Military Sales Program, giving them a better competitive edge against Israel, China, and Turkey. Framed as part of a major overhaul of U.S. foreign military sales policy aimed at boosting exports and creating jobs, the move has raised concerns among critics about escalating conflicts, undermining arms control, and human rights in volatile regions. Kamikaze Ghislaine, Mama Gagasawa TV.
As we come to the end of news edition today, let's go back with the news headlines. Director General Sang Woo Kim joins Rwanda for the 20th anniversary of Kwita Izina. Rwanda's trade deficit narrows in July. At the international scene, Israel strikes Gaza City high-rising building. Hamas releases another hostage video. Thanks for having me. Stay tuned.